The problem with Spotify. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I'm going to rant about how terrible it is that we don't physically own our music anymore. We just stream all of our music now and pay a corporation for the privilege of owning nothing. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. Because the problem with music streaming services goes a lot deeper than that. And I know what you're thinking again. No, it's not about that either. What I'm going to talk about today is something that I've never really seen anybody talk about. I'm not going to talk about how much artists are getting paid or how little. What I am going to talk about is the music itself. Because I think music is suffering under this current streaming model. Let's talk about why.
Thanks for watching Blimey Cow. This episode is sponsored by Praxis and made possible by viewers like you.
Do you remember the first time you heard about Spotify? I do. And you're telling me this is legal?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure.
This was back in the days when you still owned music. If you wanted to listen to an album, it was at least $10 for the privilege. Well, for honest people, it cost $10. For those of us who lived in Nashville and had friends, parents who worked in the music industry, we were sure to pay every single time, weren't we, Josh?
We did.
That's right. Now suddenly you're sitting in front of a piece of software that streams everything. You don't even have to download it.
So this was what it was like to use Napster. God has rewarded me for being an honest person all of these years, and my computer is free of spyware to boot. Wait, how did this Spotify ad know that I needed new glasses? This doesn't make no sense.
So it's mostly great, right? Now if someone suggests a new band, all you've got to do is give them a quick search on a streaming platform like Spotify or Apple Music, and you have instant access to their music. And this is good for the artist too. It's easier than ever for them to be discovered.
So what's the problem then, Jordan? What's the conspiracy theory this time, Jordan?
Well, the problem isn't simple. So it's gonna take me a minute to explain. But if I had to sum it up in a sentence, musicians used to be storytellers, and Spotify has turned them into content creators. Let me tell you what music used to be like. When I was a kid, you found out your favorite band had a new album coming out, and it was like this big event. You're counting down to release day. They're probably releasing a track or two on MySpace in advance. The songs they think that are like hit singles, and if you're a cultured music fan like we were, you knew these tracks were always gonna end up being your least favorite ones on the entire CD. Because the CD wasn't about the catchy pop song that the record label made the band write so they'd be more commercially viable. It was about the story. Like sitting down to watch a highly anticipated movie or read a new novel you were excited about. You'd put that CD in on release day, hit the repeat all button on your CD player, and just lay in your room for hours, over and over again, from beginning to end, beginning to end.
Unless there was a hidden track, Jordan, then you had to skip that last track.
Yeah, thanks for lying, Kay. You're talking to your friends that week and you're all picking apart the lyrics. Your friend mentions a theory they have about this one song that you haven't thought about, and you mentioned this one lyric from track 1 that you think relates to the final track. It was so much fun back then. But Spotify has killed it. And I don't think it was on purpose, but they murdered it nonetheless. Because songs aren't just stories anymore. Songs are their content now. Content to keep your band's name in the rotation of an algorithm. So you've got to keep pumping out music constantly just to keep people listening. This is why bands put out so many singles now. Sometimes they eventually add them all up and make an album out of it, but other times they're just out there. You go through Spotify and it's single. How do I piece it all together? But they put these singles out there solely to have you get a little notification to listen to it.
Oh, wow. I really enjoyed that 3-minute track. I guess I'll go listen to their old songs while I wait for another song to come out. One day.
And that increases the band's play count for the month, which I don't blame them. I mean, that's why we post twice a week on this channel, to keep in the good graces. But even if the band eventually puts out an album of all the singles that they've put out over the course of a year or two, it's not the same. From a content perspective, I get it. Why dump years of work onto someone's platform in one day just for it to be forgotten in a couple of weeks, when you could slowly trickle it out every month and keep your songs in the recommendation algorithm? But from a storytelling perspective, singles, they can't compete. Yeah, you can tell a short story in 3 to 5 minutes, just like I'm sure there's a lot of great 3 to 5 page books. Aren't they called novellas or something? But a fully fleshed out book or a fully fleshed out album, it's just objectively better. But we're losing that. I mean, you still have the legacy bands from back in the days of record labels that still follow the old release model. But honestly, these boomers aren't telling interesting stories anyway. I want to hear stories from the new generation. The weirdos, the ones that I'm scared of. What are they thinking? I need to know. You can record music in your bedroom and have it on Spotify by the end of the week now. This should be very empowering. But I think that the current streaming system is actively incentivizing artists not to tell their stories in the way they want to. Like there's a corporate structure actively working against the interests of artist integrity. Oh wait. I guess nothing's changed then. Hey, stick around till the end because I want to tell you about my favorite album that tells a story. It's mine. And I want to know what your favorite album is too. It's not actually mine, it's another one, so stick around, don't go anywhere. You know, speaking of stories, guys, do you want your story to start with you owing the government just an exorbitant amount of money for the next several decades? There is a way to get an amazing education, but still skip college entirely. Thanks to our friends at Praxis, you can partake in an intense year-long program that will get you a job in your field without the cost and hassle of college. Praxis has helped hundreds of young adults succeed, including our friend Ryan.
I kickstarted my career with Praxis back in 2017, and it has been so worth it. You learn a lot during their bootcamp, and it really sets you up to succeed in your apprenticeship. I was barely through half of my apprenticeship when they offered me a full-time position. And the on-the-job experience I got at my apprenticeship gave me knowledge and skills that I still use today. And now 5 years later, I have 5 years of job experience that simply wouldn't have been possible if I'd taken the college route.
Praxis wants to share all of their secrets so that you can do the same thing as our friend Ryan. Just go to discoverpraxis.com/blimeycow, drop your contact info, and they'll send you a copy of Forward Tilt, their book on the success mindset for young adults just getting started in the real world. You'll also get an email series about succeeding in the job market without a college degree. If the idea of college is stressing you out, like it does all of us, this is something you need to check out. Go to discoverpraxis.com/blimeycow and start your journey to a more rewarding career. My favorite album that tells a story is pretty much anything by Jimmy Eat World, but specifically Futures. Changed my life. It actually helped me when I was writing my CD, like how to formulate a story. So you gotta check that one out. But what is a CD that tells a story that you love? Tell me so that I can listen to that one as well.